Welcome to the AVAIL podcast, where we dig deep and talk about the art of leadership. My name is Virgil Sierra, and today we're sitting down with Barry E. Knight. Barry is the founder and CEO of BEK Impact, a leadership consulting firm whose purpose it is to empower executive leaders to drive greater impact and ensure lasting change in their organizations. In this episode, we'll discuss Barry's new book, The Gift Called Leadership, and break down some of the powerful leadership principles that can surely help you along your journey. So, lean in, leaders, and let's get started. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the AVAIL podcast. We love to dig deep in this art we call leadership. I'm your host, Virgil Sierra, lead pastor of Vertical Church Iglesia Vertical in South Florida. And I'm your host for the AVAIL podcast. Every Tuesday, a new episode pops out fresh with leadership gold. And we have an amazing leader today, everybody. None other than Barry E. Knight. Barry, it is an honor to have you on the AVAIL podcast. How you feeling?
I'm doing great, Virgil. Listen, so great to be here, and thank you for this opportunity to share God's heart with leaders literally around the world. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, it's an honor. It's a blessing. I think you're like me. We enjoy having these types of conversations. I could tell just by talking to you that leadership is a passion for you. Leadership is a passion for me, and a lot of our AVAIL leaders, that's what they love to come on here because of that passion. And we're gonna actually unpack a little bit of your most recent book, The Gift Called Leadership, How the Leader's Presence Empowers Others to Succeed. Before we jump into that conversation and a lot of leadership, can you share a little bit about yourself so our AVAIL audience can get to know you?
Yeah, and hello to the AVAIL audience. Listen, again, Barry E. Knight. I'm a California-born, Georgia-raised guy. So what that means is I was born in California, raised here, lived here rather for about 13 years of my life. My dad was a pastor of a church. I'm a Church of God in Christ Kojic boy. And my father, unfortunately, passed away when I was 13 years old. And my mom and I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, or more specifically to Stone Mountain, where I went to high school and did some college. But then God sent me back here to California in 1999. So, I've been here for quite a while, and this is home for me. I have a wonderful family, a wife of 20 years. We just celebrated 20 years actually on December 20th last year. So, I told her I'm going to renew the contract and for another 20. She's done pretty good. With great wife, great marriage. We've brought 3 children into this world. Our oldest son is my namesake. We call him BJ. He's 18. Then we have a 15-year-old son by the name of Charles Edward. And then a princess, Sydney Erica, who is 11 years old, going on 25. And if you have a daughter, you know what I'm talking about. She's amazing. We have amazing children. We're just blessed. We're awesome, just to be it's an awesome privilege, rather, to be just in the state of life that we're in right now. God is good.
Yeah, I love it. I just realized, Barry, you and I have a lot in common because I'm a pastor's kid, right? I'm just on the other coast,
BK.
South Florida. I'm a pastor's kid. My wife and I are about to celebrate 20-year anniversary April,
Come on,
this
man.
year.
Yeah, right on.
We have 3 kids, except the order's different. So you have boy, boy, girl. We have boy, girl, boy.
Right.
We're brothers. We're brothers from another mother, but the same father.
Same father. There you go. I can dig it.
God is good.
I love it.
God is good. Barry, I love being able to just lean into leaders like yourself that not only have a lot of experience, but have a passion for leading. And actually, before we jump into it, I do want to talk about the company that you founded. I want to talk about BEK Impact. Can you tell us a little bit about BEK Impact and what you do?
Yeah, Virgil, and thank you for that. And I'll go a little bit further. So obviously many don't know me, but I was a pastor for 11 and a half years from 2005 to 2016. Yeah. And my dad was a pastor, grew up in church. I'm just a certified church boy. And, but right about the 7th, 8th year of pastoring, God said, I'm going to send you around the world. You're going to build leaders and they're going to transform nations. And he began to show me Joseph. He said, I'm going to make you Joseph in Pharaoh's house. Wow. And I said, God, I don't want to go to the pit. I don't want to be in prison. I don't want any Potiphar's wives chasing me. You know, I don't want all that. But it was a concept of being a man of God used by God to build leaders and to transform nations. And God put that on my heart heavily. And so I knew it was a voice of God. So I literally took a leap in 2016. I'll never forget the day, Virgil. It was September 1st, 3:45 p.m. Literally in 2016
Wow.
that God said it's time. The heavens didn't open, angels weren't flying around singing. It was just God speaking to me in my heart saying it is time. And
Wow.
I made a great leap to jump into this to build BEK Impact Company, which became an S Corp in October of 2017. And from there, we haven't looked back. God has allowed me to travel literally around the world, countries such as South Africa, to
Mm,
Germany, to England, to Canada, to do this great work, even in Mexico, to build leaders and to transform organizations that are really impacting society and their city, their country, their nation. So it's been a
mm.
blessing for me. And again, I have not wanted for anything. Doors have been opening left and right. I don't market. I just allow God to lead me. And I asked God in the beginning, I said, God, I need you to be my PR agent. I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't know a lot about business. I need you to be my PR agent. And that is a prayer that God has been saying, yes to and answering every single day. And so it's been a great journey.
Yeah, I love it. I think your story and your journey is so important for all the leaders that are leaning in, and I think there's something beautiful because you've been able to kind of see and experience and be around leadership both in the church and ministry context, but also in the marketplace. Health, government. In all sectors of society. So I think that your voice is an important voice for us to listen to and to learn from. Let's talk about your book. So your book is The Gift Called Leadership: How the Leader's Presence Empowers Others to Succeed. The Gift Called Leadership. I love the imagery of that. Can you just share with us what's the heart? Why did you write this book?
You know, it- uh, Founding BEK Impact Company, obviously, we're a leadership development and coaching company, and we do a lot of consulting and advising as well. I did a lot of training, and when I would leave the training room, I just would always ask myself, it seems like there's something more that I can leave behind. And then I have a friend of mine who is a best-selling author, and she just encouraged me. She said, "You need to take all of your training and put it in a book." She said, "Barry, not
Mm,
everybody can get you into a room. Not everybody can afford whatever it is. But if you put it in a book, let that be your voice expanded, literally across the nation, if not the world." And so I am not an author. I don't even like that title, but God put it on my heart to really sit down. So it was very interesting. I started to look at all of the things that I teach and all of our curriculum. And the book process, Virgil, was actually getting me focused on what I really do and what God was calling me to do in terms of
yeah.
building and developing leaders. And I even, it became more concise, more affirmed and confirmed within me that this is what God called me to do. So the process of it, it just really came together. I took all of my training and just put it into a Word doc. Um, and then I went and got all the videos, had those transcribed. I have a friend who's a court reporter, and so he did all that for me and just transcribed all of my talks that I've done, all the videos and the audio that I had, and then I just threw it into a document. And I said, somewhere in here, we're going to extract a book. Somewhere in here, a book is coming out. That was the
Beautiful.
difficult part of actually putting it together. But long story short, I just really wanted to provide value and add value to those in leadership. And
Hmm.
we really, in the book, we define two types of leaders. One is the small case L leader. The other one, I capitalize the L to show that there's a journey that we want to move from a small case L leader to a big case L leader, and that leader is the one who is not leading for money, it's not leading for the title or the corner office, but they're literally called to leadership. They don't know why they keep doing it. They don't know why they're stepping up to say, yes, I'll do it. But it's an inner call. It's a bigger
Hmm.
than life call, and they just say yes to it. And so that's what kind of led me to write the book, because I just really felt that I had something to share and to get out that would really help leaders to see leadership and even their organizations in a different light.
Yeah, I think that's great, and I think one of the things that always catches my attention usually is the beginning of a book, right? And your first chapter is entitled "Awaken the Spirit of Leadership."
Yeah. Yeah.
That one phrase right there seems to me like it carries some weight. Can you unpack what is the
Yeah.
spirit of leadership? How do you awaken it?
Hey man, listen, the entire book is based off of that first chapter. And if you really dig into that, I've been getting a lot of
Wow.
texts and emails about that first chapter, and people are literally rereading it. So the spirit of leadership was so important, and God began to speak to me. And I define it in the book as the spirit of leadership is the convicting power that moves us to say yes to the vision, to the work, and to the risk of making things remarkably better for others. I'll say that again. The definition of the spirit of leadership, it is the convicting power. Now, if you're of the Christian faith, we know that convicting power is God. It is our Lord and Savior
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ. It's the Spirit of God in us, and it moves us.
Mm-hmm.
That convicting power moves us to say yes. We don't know why we're saying yes. We just know we have to step up and say yes to the vision. That's number one. So once we
Mm-hmm.
have the vision, then we have to do the work. And then we say yes to the work. And then we say yes to the
To the
risk.
risk. Hmm.
The risk. And that's what a lot of leaders don't talk about. And a lot of people don't really get. We want the vision and we share the vision. We communicate it. We high five. Oh, yeah, let's go do it. But then we have to move to the work, and then you get less people wanting to be involved with the work. I know I'm talking to some pastors and some business leaders right now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, everybody's sold out on a vision. We love the vision, or we're going to build, or we're going to add, we're going to expand, we're going to do all this. But hey, we have to work. Got to put our hands to the plow and get things
Mm-hmm.
done. But the other thing that we talk about in the book, that I talk about in the book, is not just the vision, the risk of the work, rather, but we have to also talk about the risk. And so when we look at, I mentioned something in the book. Just think about Martin Luther King sitting in his living room saying, "Hey, listen, we're going to fight for civil rights. We're going to fight for equal rights for African Americans in
Mm-hmm.
America." Right? Just imagine this conversation. And I'm a big imagery
Mm-hmm.
guy, analogy guy. And then he says, "Oh, by the way, we're going to get chased and bit by some dogs, right? And we're going to be walking a long ways. And sometimes we're not going to know where we're going. And sometimes we don't even know if it's going to work. We're going to get sprayed by fire hoses. Who's in, right? Who's going to say yes to that? But that is the leader's responsibility, is to not only share the vision, but to also aptly share the work that is involved, to be clear on what that is, and then never shy away from sharing the risk. This is how we get the best people on our team, because those that understand those three categories, the vision, the work, and the risk, are more inclined to stay with you when times are hard,
Mm-hmm.
when you're
Mm-hmm.
running out of money, when the Series A funding didn't come through, whatever the case might be. These are the people who are really going to have your back, and so it just really helps leaders rather, to pay attention, even in their hiring process. Who are they bringing on the team, and are these people who are willing to really get their hands dirty to make the vision manifest and come to pass?
Yeah, that's good. I like that. I never heard it phrased that way, but I like the concept of the vision, the work, and the risk. I think it's a great framework. And you just kind of mentioned something on the tail end of what you were sharing, which I think is very important as leaders, especially as leaders who are leading departments, teams, organizations, or even
Mhm.
founders, right? Which is your team.
Yeah.
The people that you're leading. Any insights, any thoughts, any advice regarding somebody who's a leader who's saying, man, I really need to get the right people on board. What's the process? How do we find the right people for the right spots?
Yeah, great question, and it's really depending on what stage of growth you're in. In the beginning, we get everybody. We get our grandma, our brother, our sister, our cousin, our 5-year-old child, whoever is ready to get on board. Right, we're in that hustle stage, and then after you're at that hustle stage, there should be some systems built. And so in the book, I'll share this with you, because I also talk about the 5 different types of leaders.
Uh-huh.
And I'll go through these real quick. Number one is a gift leader. A gift leader is
Uh-huh.
like your running back, right? They want the ball. They're great at what they do. They're experts in their field, in their gift. So they're a gift leader. And we need these people in place, right? But then the second one is a group leader. The group leader is the one that is your trainers. They assimilate people into the culture of the organization, of the church, or whatever it is that you're leading. The third is the department leader. The department leader is when the top leader has a vision. They're saying, "Hey, I want to start this new initiative," and you can literally hand that over to them, and they take it and run with it, build it out. Right? There's advantages and disadvantages to all of them. And after you're growing and you have a lot of departments, you're going to need leaders of leaders. You need
Mm-hmm.
people who can manage those department leaders and to make sure that they are a go-to and that they're continually aligning those department leaders with the vision. And then the visionary leader is the CEO. It's the executive. It's the pastor or the lead pastor, the senior pastor that shapes the vision. But in this building of an organization, again, depending on what stage, sometimes you just need gift leaders. Gift leaders are,
Yeah.
if you're a pastor in the church, hey, you can do it. You're good at ushering. You're good at greeting, right? You're good. You're
Mm-hmm.
good.
Mm-hmm.
You're not great at singing, but you can sing, right? But then you
Mm-hmm.
begin to grow. You begin to grow, right? And sometimes Sister Gertrude, that was leading all the old hymns. Well, that's not the vision of the praise and worship. So we kind of grow past that. Now, the challenge I found with pastors specifically is because we love people and we want to show the love of Christ so
Right.
much. We really have a tough time, and I can speak for me because I did,
Mm-hmm.
pastor for 11 and a half years of really saying, "Hey, Sister Gertrude, we appreciate you, Sister Gert. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, you blessed us so much." And Sister Gert is faithful. And I know somebody's listening to this like, "Oh my gosh, I have a Sister Gert at my church right now." Sister Gert has been faithful. She shows up for every rehearsal, but we've outgrown that style. Or we're elevated to a new level of ministry that maybe God has placed in your heart. We want to go to some Maverick City songs or some Hillsong songs or whatever, and not sing
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, those old hymns. And the old hymns are good. I'm not knocking the hymns. Don't beat me
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
I love the hymns. And so these are the challenges. But then when you begin to look at those 5 levels of leadership, Virgil, you begin to look at your ministry or your organization with a little bit sharper lens. And
Mm-hmm.
your gift leaders are your accountants. Your gift leaders are those, again, they're just great. Give me the ball and just block for me. Now the disadvantage
Yeah.
is everybody becomes a blocker and not everybody can do
Mm-hmm.
their job. So during COVID, we needed technicians. We needed people to get us up online as quick as possible. We were working from home, having church from home. So we needed people to get us online and streaming. Those
Yep.
are gift leaders. They led the way, right? But the only thing
Mm-hmm.
is they're so into their gift that they kind of miss the other parts of the ministry or the organization. Your group leaders, you got to figure out where you are in your organization. If you're getting more people on that, you need onboarding, you need people to assimilate, you need to find people who have that gift to be a group leader that can get people assimilated. Now the disadvantage to that is that when you have group leaders, they like to keep people in training mode. They don't want to release people. And so they're saying, no, 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 you're not ready yet. Come on, be a part of this. Be a part of my group. Be a part of my group. But their job
Mm-hmm.
is to really to get people assimilated, built up, and released. And then once you get to the ministry level, or excuse me, the department level, where you start developing more ministries and departments to oversee the assimilation that's coming through. If the assimilators are doing their job, the group leaders are doing their job, you're going to need more ministries to build it. You're going to need more departments so that people have opportunity to choose to align their gift or their passions with different ministries or different units within your organization. And then after you're growing, again, these are just different stages as you continue to grow. You're going to need leaders, people who can lead leaders, and they stay connected. The
Mm-hmm.
leader of leaders stays connected with the visionary leader and the department leaders or the ministry leaders. So I don't want to get too far in that. Get the book, folks. Get the book. You got to get the book. There's a lot of good
Yeah.
stuff in there, good nuggets in there.
Yeah, yeah. I even like that. The framework of the 5 types of leaders, and obviously the size of the organization, where you are in the season of and life of the organization makes an impact on all this. But I think what you're sharing is huge. It's huge because not every leader is created equal. Not every
Yeah,
position is created equal. It's all part
right.
of understanding, and that's the responsibility of the lead leader. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts because I know it's also included in your book on one of the responsibilities of the visionary leader, generally speaking, is to really shape the culture and establish a clear identity of who we are, and And I'd love some thought, like some thoughts and maybe some advice as far as what are some best practices that you've seen that or that you use as far as organizations and teams that really do this well. This and leaders that do this well of defining their identity and clarifying their culture.
No, great question, Virgil. I thank you for that. In the book, I talk about a lot about culture, building culture, organizational culture, but also building organizational identity. Now, one of the greatest, you're in Florida, so you'll understand this. One of the greatest organizations that has, to me, in my opinion, who has really capitalized on culture and identity is Disneyland. So I'm about 45 minutes away from Anaheim, where Disneyland is.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the
Mm-hmm.
state where Disney
Mm-hmm.
World is now. Now,
Mm-hmm.
let's follow me on this concept. Disneyland focuses on their culture,
Mm-hmm.
who they are, and everything else that they do is based on that identity, who they are, their culture, and their identity.
Mm-hmm.
Disneyland is known as the most expensive place on earth, exactly, right? The happiest place on earth. Right? Disneyland, Disney World, it's known to be the happiest place on earth. Now, when you go
Mm-hmm.
to Disneyland or Disney World, I'll just refer to it as Disneyland because I'm in California. When you go
Uh-huh.
there, they're not trying to oppress you with fast roller coasters. If you want to go to fast roller coasters, you go to some place like Six Flags in California, Southern
Right.
California. We call it Magic Mountain. Up north, we have Great America, right? You go to Six
Mm-hmm.
Flags if you want to taste your stomach acids in your throat, if you want those deep 90-degree angle drops. But this is important for leaders is defining what is our culture going to be, and then everything we bring into our organization is wrapped around or based on that specific culture and identity. And I'll explain the difference between the two. But again, when you walk through Disneyland, you're experiencing that this is the happiest place on earth. Even when you're
Right.
parking, you don't park in space G, you park in goofy G or mini
Right.
F or whatever the case might be, because they're indoctrinating you into, they're pulling you in to the
Yeah.
culture. And so for every
Yeah.
leader that's listening, I want you to even begin to think about the experience from the customer or the client or the member and walk through that. What is it like calling you on the phone? What is it like going through the hold process? What is it like for a guest, in the parking lot? I know we have these signs now, we're smiling, but that's pretty intimidating. I don't know if you all have ever seen that from a guest perspective. You're driving and someone has a sign, "We love you, welcome." Hey, you know what? Sometimes we don't do an audit on the experience from the guest, and how how are we kind of bringing them into the culture and the identity of our organization, and what's that experience like for them, and do they know that this is the happiest place on earth? How are they knowing that? Who's in place to help them know that? What are the signs that indicate that we're trying to
Mm.
communicate that with to them? And so the difference between culture and identity, I describe it in the book as if I go to Virgil, you invite me and my family to your house for dinner, we fly out
Mm-hmm.
there, and we notice that at your house, right, you all sit around the table. Everyone, kids and spouses are at the table. And we're like, oh, in our house, we just, hey, fix a plate, and wherever there's a TV and a spot on the floor or the couch, that's where we're chilling. We're hanging out, eating, and we shout across the room and it's pretty loud, right? But in your house, we adapt to your culture because we see that. That's culture, is where I'm doing it because I see you're doing it. Now, identity is different. This is where we want to get to, not just organizational culture, but we also want to move to organizational identity. The identity is when I come to Virgil's house and I adapt to what he's doing, I do it because he's doing it in his space. But then identity becomes when I talk to my wife and I say, hey, I like the way they did their dinner at the time and how they sat around the table. Let's go to our house and do that too. So a lot of times we build and bring teams into the culture, but the
Mm-hmm.
next level is to build them into the identity. This is where leadership development comes. This is where, again, establishing that culture so deep to where when the leader is gone, they're still operating in the identity of that culture because they've owned it, they've bought into it, they've enrolled into it. So I know I've said a lot. I don't want to bore your listeners here.
No, no, you're not boring us. You're. I think you're filling in some gaps. You're giving us some handles to grab onto. I love this. One of the things that I can't help but think, Barry, is you stepped into leadership early in your life as a young leader. You were a young leader growing up. I can imagine along the journey. I always like to ask a question like this, as you look back. As you look back at your early years, because right now everything you're shooting is gold. It's strong.
I
But
appreciate
here's the reality that I know about you because I know it about me.
it.
You weren't always the best leader, right? You made some mistakes along the journey. So here's my question. As you look back and reflect on your early years in leadership, right? And I know you were a pastor for 11 and a half years, right? What can you remember in your journey of, oh man, I really
Oh,
messed that
wow.
up, or oh man, I could have done that so much better. Can you share maybe one or two that you remember?
Yeah, man, and I hate that you're even asking me this, man, because now I'm getting sad. No, no, thank God for growth. One of the things is I did not value people enough to include them in the vision process. It was me more so. Here's where we're going, and then when I didn't see it happening, then I took the iron fist kind of the iron fist way of leading and kind of coercing by force and by manipulation. And even in pastoring, I hate to even admit, but and I think other pastors hopefully can attest to this. But when we have a vision and it doesn't seem like people are getting on board, then we begin to assume the worst of that person,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
We don't stop and say maybe I wasn't clear enough, or maybe the jump was too big. Maybe I need to shorten the leap to get us from, instead of going 1 to 10, maybe we go 1 to 3. So these are things that I missed. I totally missed. And so whenever I would cast a vision and didn't see the monies coming in, then I begin to verbally sometimes even beat down the people from the pulpit. I had a message about that, right? God spoke to me this message. Uh, and so yeah, that was definitely flesh there. But and I'm just being honest, and I'm glad you asked the question
Yeah.
because it was not, and that if I could go back, and I actually I went and I called some people,
Hmm.
um, like recently in the past few years, and I apologized to them for the lack of
Wow.
leadership that they had to endure while they
Mm.
were at the church with me, and I said I was not leading you. And so I've learned a lot from that. And again, a lot of things came in the book and in my development with BEK Impact Company and growing that, of taking my own life experiences and studying and researching and really looking at you know what were those breakdowns in terms of communication and
Yeah.
inspiring people with the vision instead of telling them this is what thus saith the Lord, and if you don't do it, then you're just not with me, and if you don't follow, and if you're not giving to this church, then I don't even know why you remember. It's like, why? If I could go back, I would walk to the pulpit and just punch myself in the mouth. I would just really swing and hit myself so hard and make my teeth click. I'm saying it's like, what are you doing? That's just ignorant. But now hopefully there's no one listening. I know there's no one listening who's done that before. It's just me.
Well, listen, I think that's the beauty of realizing, man, I've grown,
Yeah, absolutely.
uh, I have one, before we kind of share with the audience how they can connect with you, how they can get your book, because there's so much great leadership content in your book. I had this thought, when you have a new client that reaches out for you and says, Barry E. Knight, we need you to come on board, and they reach out for some leadership consulting, for some leadership development and strategizing for their organization. What excites you? What excites you about stepping into a new office, a new organization, a new opportunity to come in and help them with where they're at? What excites you, and what catches your attention?
I love the leadership development process in context with the strategy and implementation. That gets me up. That excites me. That turns my spirit on to 100. That's when I'm burning rubber. Uh, a lot of times leaders will call Virgil and they either want leadership development or strategic planning. And
Mm-hmm.
then either one that I would call for. Like 6 months later, I always have a 90-day check-in twice, and so after the 6 month one, the second 90-day run, I'd call and say, "Hey, how are things going?" Barry, the training was great. Oh gosh, you did great leadership development, but we're still stuck. Or I would do strategic planning and strategic whatever development with
Mm-hmm.
organizations 1 or 2 days. And then I noticed the same thing. Hey, the strategy was great. We believed in it, but we're still not moving it forward. And I realized, Virgil, that it wasn't either or, it was both and. It was
Mm-hmm.
vision planning, strategic development, and then asking the question, now that we have a strategy, now that we have an agreed upon co-created vision, what type of leader do you need to be? What type of leaders does your executive team? What needs to change in order for this to work? And so now all of my time spent, if they want one or the other, I don't do it. And I've been blessed
Mm-hmm.
enough to say no, I don't want to do that. And even beyond being blessed, it's the right thing to do for me to say, if you're going to do leadership development, we need to figure out what's the strategy that you can implement your leadership skills in. You need a track to put
Yeah.
this on. If you're doing strategic development, you're calling for me for that. We have to also do leadership development. So I just have 2 new clients that came aboard this year, and that's what we're doing. We're excited about it, but that's what excites me is, again, leadership development in context with strategy and implementation development.
Yeah. It sounds like it's like a kid in a candy store when you kind of get into that environment
Oh
and you
yeah.
can start digging into
Oh
it.
yeah.
I would love, Barry, for you to share how can people connect with you, with your organization. Also, where can they get the book
Yeah.
and get more from you?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, the book, you can go to thegiftcalledleadership.com and order 100 books, 200, however many you feel like ordering. I promise you, it is
Do
going
it.
to bless your organization. It's going to be a game changer, I guarantee. Again, The Gift Called Leadership, thegiftcalledleadership.com. Connect with me on Facebook, on Instagram at Barry E. Knight. Just type it in the search. On YouTube, we have a lot of training videos on YouTube. Again, short videos, 5 to 6 minutes or 7 minutes at the max. For many of them, the majority of them, you can go to BEK Impact. Just type that into the search. I'm also on LinkedIn. Forgot to mention LinkedIn, Barry E.
Mhm.
Knight on LinkedIn. So again, Barry E. Knight is IG, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And then BEK Impact is YouTube. Just type that in, and you can probably also find me with my name there. And follow me on all of those. I would love to connect with you. And if there's any way I can serve you, any ideas that I can bring, this is ministry to me. This is something that
Mm.
God has set me on earth to do. It's my calling. I enjoy it. And so, Virgil, going back to that question, what excites me? The fact that I get to do it. The fact that God
Yes.
set me on earth to do this. That is the number one thing that excites me, and that He's really given me something valuable to transform organizations and lead them through change, systems change, looking at data. We do a gamut of really digging into organizations to help them improve and advance their leadership and outcomes.
That's so good. And I want to just clarify for our listeners, you work with all kinds of organizations, right?
Yeah, we namely work with a lot of government organizations, government agencies, and public sector organizations. We do have worked with some Fortune 500, very large Fortune 500. Well, I guess Fortune 500 means you're large.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
prominent Fortune 500 companies. I've done speaking and training for them, and I do have some small business clients that I do some coaching for. So anyone, my, I guess you would say the avatar of the type of leader I like to work with is that your leadership is bigger than you, and you know what
Yeah.
you're called to do, and you're at the helm of the ship of this organization, and you know you have to increase an outcome that matters to society. And again, as
Mhm.
the spirit of leadership, you want to do something remarkable. So whether it's a product, whether it's an idea, a vision that you have, and you want to move that vision from concept to action to transformational outcomes, those are the leaders that I like to work with.
Love it. Love it. You guys heard it. You got to connect with Barry E. Knight, everybody, and you got to get the book. This book is going to help you in your leadership. And if you got some top leaders, some executive leaders, some leaders that you're building and developing, you might want to get the book for them as well. The Gift Called Leadership by Barry E. Knight. Let me mention, everybody, the AVAIL Journal. As always, we mention this. If you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? AVAILjournal.com. We'll give you a free trial subscription. The free trial is on us. Check it out, availjournal.com. It always helps to have good resources in your hand. Would you agree with that, Barry?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a few on my desk right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great
good
read.
Quality.
Absolutely. 100.
Good quality, good content, great contributors. I'm sure, Barry, we're going to see some articles from you in the AVAIL journals as we keep moving forward, because you are a leader who has a lot to say. I want to ask you for a final thought, a final encouragement, a final word for our leaders.
Virgil, I would just say to every leader listening is to get to the place that you're called to be, the thing that excites you, even when it's tough, when it seems like the weight is all on you, but you still keep waking up saying yes. That's my final thought, is find the place where you say yes. You say yes. That's where your calling is, where you keep saying, yes, I'm going to do it. Yes to the vision, yes to the work, and yes to the risk of making things remarkably better for others.
Whew. I love it. Drop the mic. Hashtag Barry E. Knight. Hey, everybody, the book is The Gift Called Leadership. You got to go get that book, thegiftcalledleadership.com. You can get that book. By the way, it's going to be accompanied with the masterclass bundle, which means you can get the study guide. It means you can get the masterclass videos access. I recommend upgrading to that because it's going to bless your life. Barry, on behalf of Dr. Sam Chand and Martijn van Tilburg, our founders here at AVAIL, our whole team, we just want to say we're so thankful for your life. We honor you, and we're proud of what you've done so far, but can't even imagine all the things the Lord has in store ahead for you. Thank you for honoring us with your presence.
Absolutely, Virgil. Listen, I thank you for your time in this conversation. And again, greetings and blessings to all of the listeners.
Yes, sir. Hey, everybody. I hope you've been encouraged by this conversation with Barry E. Knight. Great leader with great leadership content and a great book, The Gift Called Leadership. It's been a pleasure rolling with you guys on another episode of AVAIL. My name is Virgil Sierra, lead pastor of Vertical Church in South Florida. I'm your host for the AVAIL podcast. Thank you for leaning in once again to get your hands dirty in leadership. We love you guys. We'll catch you next time right here on the AVAIL podcast. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the AVAIL podcast with our guest, Barry E. Knight. You can find out more about Barry by going to bekimpact.com, and you can get his book by going to thegiftcalledleadership.com. For more leadership resources, check us out at theartofleadership.com. And make sure to claim your free trial subscription of the AVAIL Journal at availjournal.com. As always, I'm your AVAIL podcast host, Virgil Sierra. Muchas gracias. Thank you for connecting with us to learn the art of leadership here at the AVAIL podcast.